All right, Dirty Sports, episode 774. We are live on YouTube in 5, 4, 3. Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast. I am your host, Andy Ruther, coming to you live from Cincinnati, Ohio, with my co-host from Los Angeles, California, Joey No Chill Praino.
Good morning, Andy.
Good morning. Happy October 25th, 2021.
Yeah.
Big day. It's a big day today.
What's the day?
No, it's nothing. I don't know.
Okay. I didn't know if I missed one of those random holidays they like to do.
Well, yesterday was National Tight End Day.
Interesting.
You didn't see that at all in the games?
I heard that being mentioned. I didn't know if that was a joke or not.
I guess it basically started as a joke by George Kittle, and then it gained enough traction for the NFL to talk about it and make it a thing. And he didn't even play yesterday.
Yeah, I was going to say, they could have used that. There's just their one tight end on National Tight End Day.
Yeah. But Kyle Pitts really represented on National Tight End Day for the Falcons.
He got off to a slow start this season, but looks like he's turning into the guy people thought he would be. Being called a generational tight end prospect coming out this year.
A lot of pressure.
Yeah.
But when you have that, I think it takes a minute, but we got so much to talk about with the National Football League.
It doesn't take a minute. It didn't take a minute for Jamar Chase, who has now received more yards in his first 7 games than any player in NFL history. You know, a lot of people talking about Kyle Pitts, the high expectations. Perhaps it was the low expectations on the Bengals set by you, Andy Ruther, the blatant attack on the pick of Jamar Chase and the calling for yet another season of failure. Seems as though, there are Bengals fans. Justin Woods turned up. You know, I'm sure your entire city of Cincinnati is turned up. I said, I didn't like the pick of Chase over Sewell, but obviously, they could both have been, home run picks in Cincinnati. But I got to say, I turned around on them in the Packers game. Like I said, just showed me a lot in terms of hanging in that game against a great team. And you are still not buying in even after. And I can't believe I even let you get away with it, because I still wanted to take them and then had to take the Ravens because you were like, the spread's too big. I think you low key know that the Bengals are good, which is why you picked them and pick them. But you're having a hard time admitting this because of your hate.
Well, there's a few things I'd like to address. And now there's a lot I'm going to address about this. I'm taking, we'll play a call. There's a lot of tweets coming my way. The first thing is I still, yeah, it's just 7 games in. I still think you take an O lineman. I still think that's a bad pick for a few different reasons. One, the skill positions, they come and go. We all know that. And to me, the skill positions are much easier to replace than a solid O lineman that's going to protect your quarterback for 8 to 10 years. Jamar Chase is off to a record-breaking rookie year.
Yeah, so it's hard to say you would still take it, right? Like,
I'm saying I still would. Because Burrow is still getting hit left and right. Burrow shredded a knee his rookie year.
He was sacked once yesterday.
He's still getting hit left and right. He shredded a knee. You and I ourselves have both agreed and discussed this. Who is a quarterback who had a severe injury his first or second year, who was then not injury prone the rest of his career? Is Drew Brees the only exception?
I think we definitely talked about it. I don't remember who else we came up with, but
I can start listing guys.
We're definitely getting caught in the weeds here. They blew out the Ravens.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna address that. I'm gonna address all this. So the Bengals are a good team. I'm not done. They're playing good football.
You still think they win 6 games?
Well, clearly they're not going to do that. They're going to most likely be above 500. What I am still claiming is they will not win a playoff game.
But now you think they make the playoffs?
They have a good chance. I would put, if you had a gun to my head, I would say yes.
How does it feel being in Cincinnati with just the whole city's got to be dang?
They're fucking delusional. They're idiots. They're all idiots. It's like they forget the last 30 years. And that's the facts I want to bring in. They forget, guys, the Bengals have had a good team for like the last 15 years. They've put out some squads in the regular season. You say it best. It's a Super Bowl or bust league. The expectation is so low in this city. It's pathetic, dude. It's pathetic. I want my team to make the Super Bowl if I'm rooting for my team. You have that expectations as a New York Giants fan. You want Super Bowls. Look at the Bengals division. Steelers fans, Ravens fans, they want Super Bowls. Now Browns fans want that because now that they're good. The expectation is so low. It's pathetic. It is.
But they're 5-2.
They are.
They're beating the Ravens teams that expect Super Bowls. They're kicking the shit.
And
out
they've
of them.
done this before, Joe. And that's all I'm saying. This marks. I looked it up. I had to take a guess. How many times since 2005 the Cincinnati Bengals have started 5 or 2 or better?
2 times.
7, including this year. 7. That's what I want. That's what I want everybody to hear. Is like, dude, you're not good. They're not going. They have started 5 and 2 or better 7 times since 2005. Guess how many playoff wins they have? 0.
But you were also you were the leader. You were the band leader. You were the head of the parade of blaming Andy Dalton. You didn't like Andy Dalton. You have many an angry rant. We could put together a highlight reel of Andy Dalton rants. They now have a quarterback who's taken first overall, won a national championship in college, who has been great.
Okay, I knew that was coming. So of those 7, guess what? Guess who was a part of some of those 7? The number 1 overall pick, Carson Palmer. Let's
Joe
look
Burrow's a lot better than Carson Palmer.
But let's look at the comparisons. Let's look at the comparisons between all these Bengals teams that started off hot. And I already can see Bengals fans get mad. I'm just hitting facts with you. I'm just hitting facts. The facts are the Cincinnati Bengals do not win under Mike Brown when it matters. Those are the facts. They've had a number 1 overall quarterback before. They've had a star wide receiver with him before, whether it's Ocho Cinco or AJ Green, a la Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. I refused, and I already made a bet with Goldberg. Goldberg already bet me $50. The Cincinnati Bengals will not win a playoff game. They will not win a playoff game this year.
Now, what do you think about the fact that Joe Burrow looks so good? Looks like certainly a new era in Cincinnati Bengals football. I mean, he was drafted first overall a couple years ago. Do you think they win 5 playoff games in the next 5 years?
No. I don't think they win a playoff game as long as the Brown family owns the team. Wow. That curse is real. Dude, here's the thing. Why should I change it's just like the Clippers. Why should I change my mind? I just hit you with dude, that's actually a great stat. How many teams? Think about this, Joe. You said 2. I knew you were going to be way below because no one would expect that the Bengals have had that many good teams in the last 15 years. How many teams in the NFL of 32 do you think have started 5 or 2 and better 7 times in the last 16 years?
5 teams, maybe 7 teams.
Right? It's probably pretty low. And the Bengals haven't won a playoff game. And until that changes, until you win a playoff game, I am going to doubt you. The only constant with the Cincinnati Bengals from 2005 until now, they've had different coaches, they've had different quarterbacks. The only constant is that buffoon calling the shots. And as long as he's in charge, I refuse to believe they win a playoff game. And when they do, then I'll change my tune. But until then, I'll bet people like Goldberg $50 about a playoff game. I'll bet anybody any amount of money. They killed the Ravens yesterday. They played better. But let's look at the standings right now. Let's look at them. The Bengals are number 1 seed, right? They're the number 1 seed.
Now, I don't think it happens, but if they get the number one seed in the bye, is that winning a playoff game?
No, I don't count that. But let's look at the top 7 teams right now, Joe, because I think this is where I'm going to win you over on some of these arguments.
Do you hate the at this point? Do you hate the Bengals more than you like your 4 teams that you root for? Do you
I
is
don't
your
hate
hate
that.
is your hate for the Bengals stronger than your like for the Rams, Chargers,
What I
Bucks,
hate
and
is
Seahawks?
I hate having an awful owner who doesn't care about his fan base, and a fan base that continues to grow, to crawl back and think, oh, dude, if I hear it's different this time, one more fucking time, it's not different until you win a playoff game. End of story. It's not different. I just listed 6 previous examples when they had great starts and they never won a playoff game. So it's not different until you win. It's just not.
But I agree with you. I mean, I think in this league, you look around the league, the quarterback position is so important. I agree with you that Marvin Lewis had, certainly had problematic coaching decisions, but and was Andy Dalton good enough to win a playoff game? Yeah, but Andy Dalton was never good enough to win a Super Bowl. I think Carson Palmer is the original Kirk Cousins, great against shitty teams, shitty against good teams. So he was never in position. Like Joe Burrow's a lot better than both of those guys, a lot better than both of those guys. And in this league that's dominated by quarterback play, he gets taken first overall. Yeah, he gets hurt, but he's been great. Like, doesn't that don't you think a great QB in this league can overcome shitty ownership?
I think Joe Burrow is great. I don't think he can overcome Mike Brown. Again, I still say he doesn't last all season. I don't think he starts all 17 games. I just don't. He's already been banged up a lot. He already hurt himself last year. And by the way, I don't want Joe Burrow to get hurt. I think Joe Burrow is great. I mean, this is the ultimate test. To me, Joe Burrow is the guy. Can he test the curse of Bengals owner Mike Brown? Can he test 31 years of 0 playoff wins? But if you look right now in the playoffs, let's look at the top teams. I'll just go in order. As of today, October 25th. Bengals 1 seed, Raiders 2 seed, Titans 3 seed, Bills 4 seed, Ravens 5, Chargers 6, Cleveland 7, Pittsburgh 8, New England 9, Colts 10, Chiefs 11. We'll go down there. Joe, the truth is, I don't like the Bengals against any of these teams in the playoffs, especially teams that have experience or teams that have coaches who've already been to AFC championships or Super Bowls. Zach Taylor is not a good coach. He's not. And again, this is where it comes back to the owner. People want to say, oh, what does the owner have to do with it? They hired Zach Taylor. Let's not forget. Let's look at Zach Taylor's history. Zach Taylor was the quarterback's coach under Sean McVay for the Rams. When classic Cincinnati Bengals move, you hire a quarterback's coach because you're so cheap. You don't want to pay a good offensive coordinator or a good defensive coordinator. So you go the cheap route. You pay the guy who was under McVay. And let's be honest, McVay was the quarterback's coach for Jared Goff as well. So that was just a title that Zach Taylor had. So come playoff time, I don't care if the Bengals are at home. I don't like Zach Taylor against any of those teams, especially coaches with playoff experience.
Well, the Raiders have a coach who's an interim head coach. Look at some of those. You go down that list again. There's certainly, the Titans are a proven playoff commodity.
The Bills, the Ravens,
but like
the Browns won a game.
The Ravens aren't a proven playoff commodity by any means. The
Well,
Ravens
they are.
with Lamar Jackson, they're not winning a ton of playoff games.
But Harbaugh has been to how many AFC championships and he won a Super Bowl? That's all I'm saying. I'm saying come playoff time when it matters most.
The Chargers certainly don't have a proven coach.
They don't, but he was a stud defensive coordinator who led the number 1 ranked defense last year. Hence, he got the job. That's my point on Zach Taylor. You don't have you have a coach who got a job because the owner didn't want to pay money.
So far, it's working out.
It's working out this year. again, until you win a playoff game, this doesn't mean anything to me. And I'm not changing my tune. I will enjoy. I'm going to go to the Bengals Chargers game and I'll be wearing Chargers gear. And I'll go. My buddy's flying in town from San Francisco. He wants to see the Niners in Cincinnati. I'll root for the Niners until the Brown family is the worst. They're the worst owners in football.
When is the Chargers game?
I think it's December 5th. December 5th or the 12th.
I mean, what? So if they go, 14-3, you don't believe?
No. I don't believe they'll win a playoff game. Until you do it, change my mind. Just like I don't think the Clippers are going to make the NBA Finals until they do it. Prove me wrong. I got a history on my side. I have a 30-year period of very good, successful, young, talented Bengals teams. Teams
But
that
you
even
bring up the Clippers. The Clippers, the thing with the Clippers was always the Clippers could never even make a conference finals. They made the conference finals last year. Like, these things happen.
Okay. And then I'll maybe change my tune. Why would I change my tune until that happens? That's the counter argument. Why should I change my tune? Joe, the amount of times I've heard this year is different.
Well, I mean, I don't even this year is different thing. I'm not in Cincinnati. I don't know Cincinnati Bengals fans. I don't care about Cincinnati or the Bengals like being good. I'm just saying, though, that this year is different to me is if you look around the league, forget coaches, because honestly, we have some coaches who have been carried along by some shitty coaches who've been carried along by great players. Like, I'm not judging Zach Taylor coming in on what he's done so far by any means, because, what did he accomplish last year, and turning around. But like, this is a quarterbacks league these days, and the best teams have great quarterbacks.
Yeah, but
Joe Burrow looks like, I'm surprised Joe Burrow has looked as good. Like, I thought he was due for a rockier start in the NFL just by being drafted to a bad team, just by he's been really good.
He has. The key is, can he stay healthy? And I think that's not me being anti-Burrow. That's a legitimate concern when a guy shreds his knee his first year and a guy who's taking a lot of hits. To me, the best thing, or I shouldn't say the best thing, the surprising thing about this Bengals team is they have a really, really good defense. I didn't see that coming. Their defense is legit, and it's really good. And they shut out Lamar yesterday. But I'll play a call. I'll play an Andy Ruther hate call because it's only fair.
Hey guys, it's Joey from Minnesota. Just sitting here watching the Bengals put up 40 points on the Baltimore Ravens, and I gotta say, I was thinking about Andy Ruther, and I was also thinking about all of the Bengals fans, and I got excited. I was like, man, these guys, they kind of deserve it. I just feel so bad for some guy sitting in Ohio, hates his life. The one thing he's got is the Bengals. And then Andy yells at him and says it's their fault, blames the fans. And I noticed that Andy Ruther is kind of the Candace Owens of Bengals fans. You know what I mean? I don't know, guys. I feel really happy. Feel really happy for the Bengals fans. And as a Vikings fan myself, gotta say I hope they do something this year. Condoms are for Candy Ruther. Just kidding, guys. Stay dirty.
First of all, I don't.
You a race trader.
I don't understand. Oh, is that what he's saying? Because I don't get the analogy.
Yeah, she's a racist. She's an anti-black person.
Well,
anti-Cincinnati person.
I don't. I've heard some of the stuff. I don't really follow. I don't really know much about her, but
I don't know if his comparison was deep enough that you're a race trader just for clicks, which is also her thing.
Well,
she's racist against her own people just for internet clout.
Again, I don't know much about her, but I know what he's saying kind of feeds into my argument. Joey, this is
well, first of all, what he's saying, like, I don't feel bad for like this whole notion that I have to feel bad for some guy who's living in Cincinnati and his life sucks because all he has is Applebee's and fucking disappointing football seasons. It's like, bro, get the fuck out of Ohio.
I mean, I'll just say it again. 2005, 2009, 2011, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, like 2021. How many times are we going to do this? They've started all 5 and 2 or better. That's what I'm saying. I've heard this. You understand? I think you have to understand my sentiment, right? When I've heard,
listen, I totally understand fan bases, and I understand fan bases getting turned up. I understand Justin Wood has a TJ Hushmanzada jersey. I understand this. I understand. My counter to that is simply that the thing that does make this year different is that in all those seasons, in my opinion, the Cincinnati Bengals never had a quarterback that could actually lead them deep into the playoffs. I never believed in Carson Palmer. You can go back on this show into but Joe, Carson Palmer for MVP in Arizona takes that people had.
I know that, but I don't think you probably weren't. Were you saying that? This is way before I even knew you. I'm saying Carson Palmer in his second year as a starter, Joe Burrow's second year as a starter, leads the team to 11 wins, division title. My point is, and he was the number 1 pick. Like, we didn't know in Palmer's second year what he had. I'm saying, so there are very similar comparisons. This is Burrow's second year. Now, granted, Palmer did not win a national title at USC, but he won a Heisman Trophy. Joe Burrow wins a Heisman Trophy. I'm saying that they're both number 1 overall picks. They both in their second year are going to probably lead their teams to the playoffs. There are very similar comparisons. That's all I'm saying.
And listen, I can only judge Joe Burrow on what he's done so far. I haven't seen Joe Burrow be Carson Palmer and play shitty against good teams and good against shitty teams. Like, he came out yesterday and he beat the shit out of the Ravens.
My thing is this to anybody who's a Bengals fan. I don't know how you're not guarded. And I know a lot of these fans who are, and I have no problem with that. They're like, hey man, I got season tickets. I like going to the games. I like tailgating. I like getting drunk at Paul Brown Stadium. But I also know they have a bad history and I don't expect much. That's fine. What I can't stand, and sorry, Justin, you're one of them, is this year's different. This year's different. Dude, you've been saying this for 20, 30 fucking years.
My argument, I think, and I'm not arguing on behalf of Bengals fans everywhere, I would almost argue that not that this season's different because seasons come and go, but that this era has potential of being different because you have the quarterback in place, which in the NFL is such a big, important thing.
Until he gets another knee shredded.
Sure, until he gets another knee shredded. Yeah, same as the Bucs, I guess. The Bucs look great unless Tom Brady shreds his knee for the second time in his career.
You're right, but Tom Brady has only shredded his knee once.
And Joe Burrow's only shredded his knee once.
And Tom Brady shredded his knee, in his fifth year exactly. As a starter. It is a little different, not his first year. I'm just saying, hey, if people want to make $50 wagers with me like Goldberg,
I don't know. I don't know a team that I'm wagering $50 on straight up that they win a playoff game right now. The Rams, I'll wager. I don't know who else I'm wagering for sure. Straight up $50 playoff win.
Look, the AFC is really interesting because the best teams have two losses. Where the NFC, I mean, you have it's a top heavy league. You have, 5 teams with 1 or less loss. So we'll see how it plays out.
That's precisely why I'm like, who is winning first? You know what I mean? Because in one league, you've got teams I don't necessarily think are sure thing, believe in them. And the other league, I'm like, I believe in all those teams. So anybody could beat anybody on any given Sunday. Do I think that a Packers Cardinals match up in a playoff game, like I know which way that's going to go. I know which way, like I have fucking no idea.
Yeah.
I still believe, like I said last episode, I'm like, even though they play a close game against Detroit again, it's just like the Rams to me just seem so complete and just seem to grind. Like even when that game gets close, they get Jalen Ramsey, picks off pass in the end zone, and the game. It's like there's just so many playmakers on that team.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now I'm bummed that the Rams didn't cover. But I'm glad you bring up that game because I think to me that is actually an apt sort of comparison with the Lions and the Bengals franchise. The amount of articles I saw about the Lions and like, oh, they, there are no moral victories in the National Football League. That is stupid. That game, they lost. They did everything possible to win. They do the onside kick. They run the fake punt. Campbell does everything possible. I'm seeing articles. It's such a shit take about, oh, this is changing the culture around in Detroit. They haven't won a fucking game. So it's the same thing I have about the Bengals. Until you win a playoff game, nothing has changed for me. The Detroit Lions are the same. There's no culture change when you start.
Yeah, I guess my argument against the I think where they're different is, again, you go down to the players. Like the Lions, I think are a significantly worse franchise than the Bengals because the Lions have had multiple players in their history who are better than anybody who's ever walked on the field as a Cincinnati Bengal. Those people are retiring just not to be there. They had a quarterback in place for 10 years, 11 years, who now is, the finally one who got freed without having to retire. And they had their Joe Burrow and they were never 5-2 because the Lions fucking suck as a franchise. They don't do anything right.
They're terrible. But that's also my point. I don't know if you saw those. I saw a few of articles being like, "Oh, dude, you lost."
Yeah, that's the worst take of all time.
There's not a moral victory. You played. I agree with you as far as how good the Rams are. You played arguably the best team in the NFL. Close, but you lost. So it doesn't matter.
But dude, there's suicide pools because on any given week, somebody's going to fucking lose.
Sure.
On any given week, the Saints don't even look like a halfway decent football team. They beat the shit out of the Packers. This playing a close game means nothing. You're going to have close games. The fucking Kent Graham New York Giants beat the undefeated Broncos. Like games just happen. You lost. You had your opportunity to be a game that they look past to next week when they're playing somebody who's definitely better since you're the worst team in the league. And you have a chance to steal a game. There's this Jared Goff bulletin board material and whatever, and you just fucking lost. And you throw a pick to end the game.
Yeah. Jalen Ramsey is a stud, by the way. And I know we know that, but what's impressed me this year, I knew how great of a cover corner he was, but he is tough as nails. And I love that one blitz they brought him on yesterday. I don't know if you saw that. And when he gets to Goff and he lights up Goff, and he's a great tackler. He can tackle in the open field. I might have to agree with you. I know Arizona's undefeated, but I might have to agree with you as far as,
well, again,
slightly giving the Rams the edge.
You look at playoff experience, coaching, like the whole thing. Like the Cardinals definitely showed something in waxing the Rams that week, but we still have, obviously, the Seahawks are out of the mix without Russ. The NFC West that looked like it could be so top heavy is now, the top and bottom. Like the Niners have two, roughed up quarterbacks struggling, not looking good. So it's now the Rams and the Cardinals. Be interesting to see, they play again. So forget meeting in a playoff game. They still meet again in the regular season.
Big disappointment for the Niners so far.
Absolutely.
I mean, again, last night, I never feel when I watch them that they're ever in control of anything, ever.
Yeah.
And I don't know where that leaves them. Like, where does this leave the Niners? Obviously, they have injuries, like you said, at the quarterback position. But even their D, which is pretty good or can be good. I know last night was a sloppy, wild, erratic game.
Down, like, and also they're down running backs. They're down Kittle. They're down, like, there's guys hurt all over that team. But we go back to the same thing. This is a quarterback. Like, they drafted a quarterback in the top 3 or whatever it was. They don't believe in Garoppolo. And now, one way or the other, if you're the third best team in the NFC West, like, I think no matter what happens, if this is where your record's at right now, as the second Trey Lance is healthy, he just has to play.
Yeah.
Whether you think he gives you the best chance to win or not, he has to play because you have to know.
Sure. I agree. You clearly don't have confidence in Jimmy G.
And he hasn't done it. Like, if you know, the thing with Jimmy G is you have to win this game. You have to win games you're supposed to win to keep the guy on the bench if he's healthy. You know what I mean? Like, but you're not doing that. The Colts aren't good. The Colts aren't good. I know everybody's like on this, like, the Colts are the best team that aren't going to make the playoffs, or the Colts are the best team with a loser. It's like, the Colts are not good. They're not. They're fine, but they're not good. I wouldn't bet on the Colts to win against any team, essentially. Like, I look at the Colts schedule. I look at, my money in my gambling accounts. I'm not going like, yeah, I love the Colts line today. They're unpredictable. They're sloppy. They're not good.
But I think we both took them to cover the spread.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have no money on that. I got to pick somebody.
Sure. Well, they're a team you can't figure out, right? They were killing Baltimore. They lose that game. They've been in basically all these games.
Well, and I think what you can figure out is that they're inconsistent.
Yeah.
You need to be like, this is what a team is capable of every given week. This is the effort they're going to give. This is whatever. And it's like, they're not there.
Well, I think the inconsistency is just a reflection of their quarterback, because Carson Wentz is very inconsistent. And another team that has been very inconsistent, almost not even inconsistent, because it's consistently just playing bad, is the Chiefs. And at what point are we going to say it's too late to turn this around? Not just defensively, because they're defensively, like, historically bad, but offensively, they're not good right now.
No. And I have a lot of hot takes on the Chiefs. One is, I'd almost say that defensively, Spagnuolo has a better resume just as a defensive coordinator than Andy Reid has as a head coach. And I think at some point we need to take a look at this as an overall coaching failure from a guy who went so long without it, was always in the mix. He's one of the great coaches. He gets it. He puts on his Hawaiian shirt. He goes to fucking, the Kansas City barbecue places like Wimpy, and has like a stack of cheeseburgers in front of him, and he's going to set a record. It seems like you win that Super Bowl, you get to the Super Bowl, or you get on the precipice of a Super Bowl in the year that they're offsides. You win a Super Bowl. Last year, you lose a Super Bowl. It just seems like, was that the peak? Was that peak Andy Reid? Was like that was as high as it's going to be, and we're never going to see that level from him again? Did he get his success and that's it? because my thing when I watch the Chiefs, I almost feel like, you remember they started out with Patrick Mahomes on the bench behind Alex Smith. And when he comes in, they're playing one style of play and he's just excelling in it. And now the last couple of years, it's all been about like, we're not afraid to call any play. We'll do this thing where they all get to the line and they all spin around and then they're in different positions. And then we're throwbacks or whatever. It's like, at some point, the way this season's going, I almost think you got to be like, hey, you guys need to go back to the Alex Smith offense where Patrick Mahomes isn't just running around in the backfield hoping for somebody to get open so he can sling a sidearm, no look 60-yarder. Like, it just seems like they're now at the point where they're like, we're really good offensively. We know it. We can just do whatever we want. We'll figure it out. And it's like, you're not figuring it out. He's getting the ball taken away from him regularly.
He leads the NFL in turnovers.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like Patrick Mahomes has more turnovers than any other player in the NFL.
Yeah.
And you can say, oh, he's thrown all those touchdowns. Yeah, but he has a bad touchdown interception ratio this year. You know, I talk about you can't turn the ball over in 2021 NFL. You just can't. And they are. And he is.
And also, but like defensively, they're not scoring. They're not forget defense. Like, oh, they gave up 27. Like 27. That didn't used to be enough to beat the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So you can complain about the defensive play all you want. They scored 3 points.
Yeah. I saw something interesting too, and I don't know where there's a stat on it. There probably isn't. It was saying Mahomes has thrown a lot. If you follow his career, and it was kind of making sense just from someone who's watched Mahomes as we have, as anybody who watches NFL has. It says a lot of those reckless, risky throws he's done in, let's say, the first 3 years have been dropped interceptions. Or, you know what I'm saying? And somebody said it feels like it's all, I just saw a random tweet.
It's all balancing itself out.
Yeah, it says it feels like it's all catching up. Those reckless left-hand throws where in the past would be like a drop pick, now is not. And like you said, it's all balancing out. And
but I go back to the coaching thing, and like, you know, obviously Chiefs fans probably are sitting at home. Andy Reid won them a Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes is their entire future. I'm sure they're calling for Spagnuolo's head, but like, you go back to the same thing. How much can you pay one guy and not think it is going to come out of the offensive line? It's going to come out of the defense. It's going to come out. You go to Arrowhead. I'm sure it's Mahomes jerseys and Kelsey jerseys and Tyreek Hill jerseys. I'm sure there's not a lot of I'm sure there's not even a lot of Honey Badger jerseys. I'm sure there's not a lot of they paid the guys, and that's just the name of the game in the NFL is, you know, you give a guy $500 million, it's going to come from somewhere. Now, my thing with the Chiefs was, again, take that money, protect him. I know they can't run the ball. And honestly, they shouldn't need to run the ball. They shouldn't need to. Have all your fucking screen passes, have your jet sweeps, have all your shovels, have your essential runs. You don't need to be able to straight up hand the ball off, but you need to be better offensively, and you need to protect Mahomes, because you can't have it all. Spend the money on your offensive line. If you're going to spend the money on weapons and Mahomes, then finish the job and spend it on your offensive line. And your defense is just going to be what your defense is, and just be like, we're going to outscore people. But they're not outscoring people because their defense is what it is, and their offense isn't that good. Listen, I said I'm here for the hot takes. Like, Andy Reid's on the hot seat. If I am in the front office in Kansas City, Andy Reid is on my hot seat, because I'm like, dude, it just seems like you peaked. And it seems like with $500 million invested in this quarterback, maybe we should be looking for our Cliff Kingsbury. Maybe we should be looking for our Sean McVay. Maybe we should be looking for a guy, because where's your, like, what have you done for me lately? You have a long and storied career of not getting it done. You finally get it done with a superhero, and now you're down the other side of that cliff.
Well, you know, I would personally not put Andy Reid in the hot seat. I think I'm not ready to go where you are, and that's fine. I think, you know, I read a lot of these like deep dive articles that the Athletic puts out, and I read one today. It was comparing this Chiefs team with 3 different 7-9 Saints teams under Sean Payton and Drew Brees. Like it was basically, and it was a good comparison. I thought it was showing how many points the defense was giving up on those Saints team and this team, and also how many more interceptions in those 3 years Drew Brees threw, which, goes back to our point we've been making the last, I don't know how many weeks, of when you're behind, your quarterback starts forcing the ball because you're always playing catch up. You're always playing catch up. So you have to make riskier throws, which usually results in turnovers. So I thought that was interesting. So they are at 3-4. So I have to ask you, and I wrote this down. Do the Chiefs make the playoffs?
I mean, dude, I have the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl to start the year. I mean, I still think that they have to make the playoffs, but like, to me, you have a different bar set for you than like, we're talking about your Bengals fandom and saying they're not going to win a playoff game. Like, if the Chiefs, let's say the Chiefs make the playoffs. Now they come in as a low seed. Okay, let's just say they make the playoffs and they have to, play a road game and they win it and then they lose. Like, that is the equivalent of, a not Patrick Mahomes led team, like missing the playoffs or going 7-9 or whatever. Like, I just think you have to raise the standards. Like, they have to get in first and foremost. You can't win a playoff game unless you get into the playoffs, but they also have to win playoff games. To me, that's where I'm at. Like, I just think in this world of sports, you have to, like, you need to buy low, sell high. Like, to me, Andy Reid is on the hot seat if he doesn't win multiple playoff games. He's on the hot seat right now. To me, if I'm in Kansas City, because I'm like, then what the fuck are we doing here? Do we restart? Patrick Mahomes is, you look at like the Nationals in baseball. I'm sure Nationals fans devastated that they win a World Series and dismantle the team. But they're ahead. They go, we have Juan Soto. He's 20. He's going to be the best hitter in baseball. We can tear it down now and rebuild around this guy before he turns 25.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes is still young and is still an incredible quarterback. So, like, at what point do you have to start thinking, hey, we got to get ahead of this, get him a new offense in place before. And I'm not saying you have to do that today, but I'm saying if you don't win multiple playoff games this year, something you might think about doing this off season.
Well, looking ahead, they have their schedule. I'm just looking at it briefly. They still have 2 with the Raiders, 2 with the Broncos,
1 with the Chargers.
1 with the Chargers, at Cincinnati.
So, I mean, you talk about that division. They have to win both Broncos games. They have to beat the Chargers to split. They have to split with the Raiders, right?
They have at Cincinnati, Packers at home, Steelers at home.
I'll tell you what, I think my Giants go there this coming Monday, right?
They do.
Giants go into Arrowhead and win, which they won't. But if they did, I'd fire Andy Reid out of a cannon.
I'm a little surprised that you still are confident they make the playoffs.
I mean, I'm not confident they make the playoffs, but I just think, it's almost like, to me, I go back to another baseball thing, like with the Mets and Lindor this year, like them being so bad and Lindor not hitting. It just seemed like it was like, oh, well, when he does start to hit, we're in first place, does start where he hit. Like, to me, it's like, I'm just waiting. It seems obvious to me that they get rolling at some point.
Yeah.
And the longer that they go, obviously, the more difficult it is. But like, I just feel like they have a 5-game win streak in them,
I think they very well could as well. The AFC is just, it's, I'm looking at it right now as we speak. I don't know. I don't know who I take as the team to come out of that conference, or even the two teams to make it to the conference championship game. Obviously, Tennessee's playing great. I mean, they had that terrible loss to New York.
Yeah.
But since then, they're playing great. The Bills bye week, but they had that tough game. They lose to the Titans. Obviously, Ravens get smoked by Cincinnati. I don't know. If you ask me right now, who do you like? I picked the Bills to make it to the Super Bowl. I still like that. Now, is there a part of me, by the way, you're fast forwarding ahead, talking about the Chiefs and the playoffs. Is there a part of me that would love a Cincinnati Bengals bye week and then like a Chiefs second round game? Oh, I would love that. I would just love that. And then when the Bengals would lose, I would just proudly say, I told you so. Do you think the Bengals win that division?
Um,
Bengals have a very, I can give you a sneak peek, David. After this week at the Jets,
it gets tough.
It gets tough.
I mean, obviously it's the Ravens or the Bengals. We know that.
You don't like the Browns.
I mean, at this point, I think I do like I think the Browns are good. I think the Browns are talented, but I think that at this point it's going to be the Ravens or the Bengals. I know it's a 1 game difference right now, but like you're talking about 5-2 teams. The Bengals just beat the Ravens. I feel like the Ravens come back. Like, I guess this is what I'm saying about the Bengals this year. It's like I picked the Browns in the AFC Championship game because I think they have like I now believe that the Bengals are a better team on paper than the Browns.
You do,
yeah. From the way some of these guys have played, from the way their defense is playing.
I just saw a headline I was just looking at the Bengals schedule. Saw a headline from ESPN. This isn't the Bengals of the past. Those are exactly the titles that are just factually wrong. Now, when they win a playoff game, you can write, this isn't the Bengals of the past. But I have already proven statistically, 5-2 record, they've done a lot. So I stand by all that.
I'd almost argue even like this isn't the Browns of the past. The Browns win a game with Case Keenum this week. I mean, you talk about, this whole season, if Burrow goes down, it's like, that's the thing. I do like Cleveland. Like how far are we away from a Cleveland? I mean, Cleveland, Cincinnati, they haven't played yet this year. They've got to have
play the week after next week.
Okay.
You want me to play a quick call about Case Keenum?
Sure.
Hey, boys, it's Nick from Iowa. Hey, after that Browns game the other night, I wanted to ask you guys, I know Joe's real high on Ryan Fitzpatrick and being a career journeyman quarterback, and I want to know if you guys think that Case Keenum is just a couple of years away from being that same guy, a bunch of different teams, lighting it up for him for a few games, flashing the personally, I don't think the teams that have had him should have let him go. Just want to know what you guys think. Stay dirty, boys.
All right. So he's calling from Wyoming, hence the connection problem, I'm assuming.
Right.
But we're going to do a Case Keenum, Ryan Fitzpatrick comparison.
Well, I think it's almost different. Like
they're different quarterbacks, first of all.
Well, for sure they're different quarterbacks, but they're different versions of even like the back. Like Ryan Fitzpatrick is always brought in to start in place of something else happening, that like this team has plans or this team's holding a placeholder or this team's whatever. Seems like Case Keenum's brought everywhere to be a backup except for Denver, I guess. And then, obviously he takes over in Minnesota and he plays really well. And then he
started 14. I'm looking at his career. He started 14 games that year.
Yeah. And then, the Broncos, you almost can't even count the Broncos and their quarterback, Cursa Kaepernick. Then, he's brought in obviously into Cleveland to back up. So I feel like it's different versions of the same thing. Fitzpatrick isn't generally brought in to be a backup. He's brought in to like placehold and then ends up being a backup. And Case Keenum seems like, besides again on the Broncos, to kind of be the reverse. But, good for Case Keenum. I'll always be a Case Keenum fan because of my hatred of Kirk Cousins. And I'll just always point to like we can do all the Kirk Cousins stats so we want. Let me know when he does as much with the Minnesota Vikings as Case Keenum did.
Went 11-3 in his 14 starts that year, the Minnesota Vikings. He was very efficient that year. He threw for 3,500 yards, 22 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, almost 68% completion percentage. I mean, he had a pretty good year. They obviously won that wild playoff game. So Brady threw his 600 touchdown pass yesterday.
Yeah.
Which is wild. I'm gonna ask you something. Let's see how close you are.
Okay.
So Brady threw his 600. How many QBs, without looking it up, have thrown 250 or more?
Oh,
all time.
Well, let's do this.
So just 250 or more career touchdowns to put it in comparison with Brady throwing 300.
15.
23. So only 23 quarterbacks all time have thrown 250 or more.
Who's the 23rd? Who's over 250 with the lowest?
Drew Bledsoe at 251. And currently playing in the NFL is 6 quarterbacks have thrown 250 or more. Brady, Rodgers, Roethlisberger, Ryan, Stafford, Russell Wilson.
Yeah. And then you have 6 more that have retired in the last 3 seasons or whatever. Yeah, right?
You have Peyton Manning, Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning, and actually Carson Palmer in the last 6 seasons. I'm just doing that to put it in comparison how, like, for Brady to throw 600, only 23 have thrown 250 or more.
Right.
And again, everyone, I hate.
I mean, but also 600 is, how many have thrown 400? 8?
It's a great question. Yeah, actually, you're spot on. It's 8. Roethlisberger's the lowest at 403. And then Rodgers has thrown 427. But Rodgers is about 80 and back of Brett Favre next in the list.
Yeah.
So Rodgers would have to play probably 2.5 more seasons to move up past Brett Favre. And again, the reason I want to present that stuff is because everyone says, oh, it is a pass heavy league and it's easier for quarterbacks now than ever. But again, you have to stay on the field and the longevity is not easy.
Oh yeah.
I mean, just to throw.
I mean, getting the blood of freshly killed children is not easy. Like that goes without saying. It is not easy to get blood of children that is still warm. It's hard.
You're unbelievable.
I stand by it. Like, just look at the guy's face.
He does look great, I will say.
Look at the guy's face. I don't know if it's children's, but I don't know what it is. But Tom Brady, this is my Tom Brady. This isn't even, by the way, this is saying he's doing nothing wrong. This is saying he's doing nothing wrong. But Tom Brady is absolutely taking something that will one day be banned by the NFL. I will bet everything I have on it. Now, that means it's totally legal. And there's a lot. Listen, we're probably 50 years away from coffee being banned by the NFL. Who knows? The Mets documentary, they were getting into the locker room and the entire team was taking methamphetamines. Like, I'm just saying, he's definitely on something that's going to get banned one day. And it's a 50-50 coin flip that it's warm, fresh blood of children.
What do you, or I should ask, have you followed what happened with his 600 career touchdown pass with the ball.
Mike Evans gave it away. The fan gave it back in exchange for a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. So it was debated. In fact, both Romo and Nance kind of roasted the fan, saying, dude, that's a bad deal. Like, what are you doing? Saying you have all the leverage. They said this on air. So this is the latest as far as the trade. Brady gets the ball back after Evans gave it to the fan. The fan will receive, well, he already did, a different game ball. $1,000.
What the fuck ever.
I know. I couldn't agree more. $1,000 gift card to the team store, which to me is like
unbelievable.
Dude, you know how
about
expensive
$1,000 bill?
Yeah, you know how expensive that stuff is too. $1,000 in the team store doesn't go much. Promise of helmet, a couple jerseys in parentheses, something nice in return per Tom Brady. Very vague generalities. He definitely got swindled here.
Yeah. Although, listen, if I'm Joe Praino, and Tom Brady gives me like a something nice in return, if he's giving you that, I would almost argue that that's more valuable than like the $500,000. I'm going to be like, all right, Brady, listen, here's the deal. I'm going to fucking call you when I need something nice in return. You owe me a favor now. I'm going fucking full Italian, and I'm like, there's something nice in return might be a bigger ask than he's prepared. But, listen, I didn't tell you had to say something nice in return, but now it's something nice in return. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
I want to live at your apartment when you're out of town.
Well, Romo kept referencing, did you catch this? He kept referencing a date with Giselle.
Yeah. Also, creepy Romo. Like, what? Like, how about like
he mentioned it multiple times.
I know. Why does Romo's such a dork? He doesn't realize Giselle probably has model friends that aren't also married to Tom Brady. Like, dude, maybe just ask for a date with one of her friends.
Yeah.
If I'm the kid, I'm like, yeah, hey, Giselle's got to have a friend who wants to go out and you buy us dinner. Tom, you're buying dinner with, I want a double date with you and Giselle. Romo's like, I want your wife. Weird take.
Yeah, let's see if this is a clip.
NFL history. Right here. He's like, we need that ball. That's 600. What? Really? So what do you want? $1 million? No. Oh, no, a date with Giselle. A date with Giselle, and I'm in. Tom? Okay, Tom will do it. He'll allow it. One time. You got it.
And he did it again.
Creeper.
You're not getting remember, you're not getting laid? What's going on here?
Yeah.
He's got a beautiful wife too. Former Miss Missouri.
She's playing hide and go seek from him. He comes home from his weekends with Nance. He has to stand in the corner. 1, 2, 3. Where are you, baby?
And I love the amount of people who are not getting that reference. Do you think Romo just watched Indecent Proposal? It was on his mind. Like, you think he just saw it?
I feel like Indecent Proposal is like a 50 times better movie than anything Tony Romo's ever watched. Like, I feel like Tony Romo's favorite movie is like Talladega Nights.
Yeah, I bet you're right.
He like has a poster in his man cave. What I mean?
I could see that. Behind the actual cave that he hides in when he plays hide and seek. For anybody who doesn't get that reference, Romo played hide and seek on his bachelor party.
As his bachelor party.
He played hide and seek.
It was his bachelor party. His bachelor party was a bunch of guys going out into a cabin in the woods and playing hide and go seek.
And then they all had Brokeback Mountain gay sex.
Okay.
Allegedly.
I don't know how that's related.
Allegedly.
There's nothing homosexual about hide and go seek. I would say it is
in the woods with a bunch of dudes. I don't know.
I would say it's very dorky.
Yeah, I think it could get sexual.
I think if you showed up to a gay bachelor party and suggested hide and go seek, that you would be kicked out immediately.
True. It's a good point.
They'd be like, bitch, this isn't some straight dude bachelor party where we're playing hide and go seek. We get fucking turned.
Yeah.
Is this what y'all straight boys are doing? Playing freeze tag? Get the fuck out of here.
You know what we used to do for my my buddy's birthday party? Speaking of hide and seek, it's so funny to think this now. Dude, parents would never allow this. My buddy we used to go to the Cincinnati Cyclones games, their minor league hockey team. And they used to play at the old Cincinnati Gardens, also where Xavier used to play. It's like a 10,000 seat arena. It doesn't even exist anymore, right? When we were third and fourth graders in the whole arena, his dad would let us leave our seats and just play hide and seek in the entire arena. Like, think about that. 10,000 seat arena. We're playing hide and seek with each other. No parental supervision. I'm talking as young as 9, 10 years old. Like, that's pretty wild to think. Yeah. You're just letting
some kids in the popcorn machine.
You're letting 10 to 12, 9, 10-year-olds just run around an entire arena trying to find each other. That was reckless.
No, but Bengals haven't won a playoff game since.
I'm going to get so much hate. I already know I am. That's fine. Joe, I swear, though, if I had $1 for every time I heard this year is different. It's not. Can't do it. Won't do it. And then when they win, I'll say, okay, it's different, guys. You got me. The same way the Cubs, it wasn't different until they won the World Series, or the Red Sox. It's not different until it happens. Now, we got to go over some NFC games. At this point, how long can Nagy be the coach? Like, did you watch any of that game? How long can Nagy be?
Yeah.
How long can he coach without them?
From the Andy Reid offensive genius tree. Yeah. How's he not fired already?
Yeah.
You score 3 points.
And these are the type of games that you could argue like ruin a rookie quarterback for their career. Like, if you have enough of these in your rookie season, confidence is real. You would have to assume Justin Fields right now is so low confidence-wise.
Because they don't make it easy on him. That's the thing, is like, I just feel like with these guys, you got to start somewhere. You got to make it easy. Like, that's the thing with the McVay, Goff, Stafford situation, was they got very far making it easy on Goff. And then they were like, we can't win a Super Bowl making it easy on Goff. And we can't make it hard on him. So let's go get somebody that we can make it hard on.
Sure. I couldn't agree more. You gotta get rid of Nagy.
They could have Jason Garrett if they want. Maybe he can bring some stability. I mean, he's now out there he's literally having his quarterback go over the middle.
I was thinking of you when I was watching.
When you watched the Daniel Jones out to dry on a passing play. Now we're making him a receiver.
Well, not just that. I was thinking of you when they failed by the goal line. They failed fourth down.
Yeah.
That play call. I was like, oh, Praino's going nuts.
The play calls all lead up to it. It's the exact same thing they did against the Cowboys. You're just running into the fucking line. It's like, it's so horribly bad. And then this has been something that's happened the whole year. Jason Garrett refuses to be creative at all as an offense, except the 2 times a game that he does something wildly insane, like trip over reverse fucking quarterback passes. It's the only thing. He's like, I've heard people don't think I'm creative. What if we do a quadruple pass? And you're like, dude, why don't you just fucking run play action? Like, Jesus, how about just fake a handoff and throw the ball instead of like a jet sweep reverse past your quarterback where he's literally taking hits as he catches the ball. We're throwing Daniel Jones the ball in traffic.
Hey, you won.
Great. When we're now at the point of the season where we don't want to win. Would have been nice to win a game when we weren't 5 games back.
Yeah.
You win the Washington game, and you win the what was the game right after that? The other one that they fucking blew. The Falcons game. Now I want to win this Carolina Panthers game. Then you're 4-3. Not 2-5.
The Panthers have now lost 4 in a row.
Yeah.
I mean, Sam Darnold
without Christian McCaffrey turned back into a pumpkin. I mean, that's part of the league, though. You know what I mean? That's part of the deal. Like, we judge all of these guys. We love to judge all these guys, like, in a vacuum. When they had an all-world running back who's carrying their running game, who's giving him easy throws, who's doing whatever, he looks a lot better. The Panthers, are now in the Deshaun Watson mix, supposedly, but and what do you have? That team needs Christian McCaffrey. This is not making excuses for Sam Darnold. I'm just that Sam Darnold is what he is, but look at the level of play when he has a Christian McCaffrey and when he doesn't.
Yeah. No, I get it. I just the Deshaun thing is interesting.
Sam Darnold, going back to our caller, has real Ryan Fitzpatrick vibes. I could see him being the guy that keeps being brought into places as a placeholder while they figure out what's next. And stockpiling 10 years of NFL stats before we know it.
Yeah. That in that regard, they're comparable. Obviously, one was a 6th or 7th round pick, and the other one's a
right
top 5 pick. I'll be real curious what happened. You just mentioned it with Deshaun Watson. I assume a trade's going to happen. Deadline's November 2nd. Well, it's the classic NFL. They don't what they do is, so I don't know if you know how this works. The I think it's called the player exempt list that the commissioner can put you on.
Mm-hmm.
They don't put good players on that list.
Right.
I was watching, who was it? It was Rappaport, because Rich Eisen was asking about that. Why is he not on this list? And it was the same thing with Antonio Brown. Basically, if you're charged with a felony, you can be put on that list or something along those lines. And Antonio Brown was the same way, but it's like, oh, he's too good. We're not it's funny. They'll make these exceptions for good players.
Yeah.
The NFL just ignores it. But the only team he said he would go to is Miami. So I don't know if that would change. That's the only team we know. If he went to Denver,
honestly, I'd rather go to. If I was him, I'd rather go to Carolina. I mean, I don't know if he just wants to be in Miami. I don't know what the masseuse situation is in these two towns. But I'd rather be on Carolina than be on the Dolphins. Team-wise, division-wise.
Yeah.
You have, how long is Brady going to keep playing for? The Saints don't look like they're in a great situation with Jameis. The Falcons, Matt Ryan's going to be done soon. I think that division is prime for the taking in the next couple of years.
Yeah. Well, you have an offensive-minded coach. If they keep him.
Oh, and I think they should. I think Rule's done a good job, and they have Brady, the passing guru
from LSU.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that's probably a better place to go.
Than a division with Buffalo that's set to be whatever they are for a little while, with the Patriots who, as long as Bill Belichick's there, would scare me.
I'm telling you, and that's a team. I was just going to bring them up at 3-4, who I think could sneak in. Because even their losses, they've had some tough, close losses. I think that's a team that could sneak in. The Jets are a debacle. I guess Wilson's out. 2 to 4 weeks. How many more years in that bet?
With Kyle? I don't know. This might be year 5.
Man, I thought that was a crazy bet, but it just looks better and better. Like, I watch the Jets and I watch Wilson. I actually feel sorry for the guy. It's watching a gazelle get chased by a herd of lions. You know it's not going to end well. And you know that gazelle is going to get eaten. And Zach Wilson, he's that gazelle just getting sandwiched by defenders.
Well, and this is where the whole Ryan Fitzpatrick, coming back to the bet, that's where the whole Ryan Fitzpatrick thing with me came from, which is like, I did call Ryan Fitzpatrick bad before that. But when he goes to the Jets and he wins 10 games, I'm like, oh, dude, the number of teams, the number of players the Jets have just gotten killed who've been just terrible there because they're such a fucking shit run organization. I was like, going 10-6 with the Jets is like going, 14-2 and winning the Super Bowl if you're on the Steelers. Like, that's, I mean, honestly, I bet you historically there's less quarterbacks to win 10 games with the Jets than there are quarterbacks who won 14 games with the Steelers.
Yeah.
And that was when I was like, you know what? I'm wrong. Ryan Fitzpatrick just got a little fire in him. I like this guy. And now, we know what happened after that.
Well, we're talking about Zach Wilson and his health. I think what he should do, Zach, if you're listening, I know you've got some downtime now that you're rehabbing, is you should sign up for Crowd Health because it'll show you the best way to get the best services for your health insurance. That's what he should do. I don't know what his health insurance situation is with the NFL, Joe. I don't think any of us know, but more than half of the Americans are in a high deductible health insurance plan on the hook for thousands of dollars of deductibles, copays, and high premiums. Now, Crowd Health will help you with this. Now, it isn't health insurance. I want to make that clear. It's not health insurance. It's a better way to pay medical expenses. And Zach Wilson, I have a feeling you're going to be paying a lot of medical expenses as long as you play on the New York Jets. It's a membership as a monthly subscription. You can start or stop it whenever it's convenient for you. It has simple and transparent pricing, customized to fit your needs. Crowd Health lowers your monthly healthcare cost, and you can see any doctor you want. Basically, you use their app, you find any doctor in the country ranked from a 1 to 5 star. You can scan bills and throw them away. Crowd Health takes it from there. Press a button to receive virtual care anytime, anywhere. And it's a community of health-conscious members who wants you to get healthy and stay healthy in return for lower prices.
Virtual care anytime, anywhere.
That's right. Crowd Health is able to offer amazing prices because of its community of health-conscious members. But for a limited time, Dirty Sports listeners get their first month free. And after you've been a member, Crowd Health will include a fitness wearable. That's 30 days to try risk-free plus a fitness wearable. And by fitness wearable, I mean something like a Fitbit. Just go to joincrowdhealth.com/fit and enter code DIRTY at sign up. Once again, that's joincrowdhealth.com/fit, promo code DIRTY. Now you got to remember, Crowd Health is not health insurance. It's a community-powered alternative. Terms and conditions may apply. So sign up for that, Zach Wilson, because
you're going to need it.
Yeah. And maybe Joe Burrow too. I see you shaking your head over there.
Shameful.
Do you think he starts all 17 games?
Wishing injury on a
I'm
team
not
just 'cause
whisking
you don't
injury.
like.
I'm not whisking injury on Joey B. I'm just saying.
I hope you're not whisking injury.
When he gets lit up and knocked out of a game, I might say I told you so. I don't think I'm crazy to say I still would have drafted Penei Sewell over Jamar Chase. I don't think that's a crazy take.
I mean, at what point? Is there anything that can happen?
you need like multiple years of production from a receiver. I just do you see my point? Like Joe, I
understand that my
but
problem with the Odell Beckham drafting was I was like, cool. And what are we doing with this guy who's so awesome when we don't have an offensive line to protect anybody? And then years later, he's throwing the quarterback who's not getting protected under the bus because he can't get him the ball. And it's like, yeah, this is what happens when you don't have a fucking offensive line. But their offensive line is playing okay.
But to me, Odell is that case. Like, I'm glad you brought him up. Like I'm to the point now with both running back and receiver, basically, like I said, skill positions. I think we both agree the most important position is the quarterback. So you do all things possible to protect that guy. Someone of Joe Burrow's talent will make the average receiver really good. That's all I'm saying.
My problem was it was so obvious that they had offensive line deficiencies that how do you take this guy when you have that? And, maybe Zach Taylor knows something that we didn't know, which is that their offensive line is fine and he had an opportunity to get a great receiver. I mean, Burrow's getting hit, but it's not like he's the most pressured quarterback in the league or anything.
I don't know. I don't know what the stats are for most hit, most pressures. I don't know. I should look that up. I'd be curious to see what those numbers say. Was there anything else from this week that stood out for you in particular that we haven't discussed yet or you want to discuss?
Nothing I can think of. Nothing that jumps out at me. Take a look at not really. I mean, the Raiders looking fantastic so far without their coach.
I'll tell you what, man. I think that is something good to bring up. I took them in both our pick 'em and my pick 6 league that I'm in to cover, and their offense is not missing a beat, and their D's pretty good.
Yeah.
I would argue now that they've won 2 in a row without Gruden, I would argue that's all behind them. I think it is, clearly. And they're going to be a tough team to beat. That's going to be a fun division to watch play out. Because if Kansas City,
and they're up 30-7 in that game.
Yeah.
At one point. I mean, the Eagles. You love to see it.
Hurts so good, doesn't it?
Yeah, honestly, the best part about the Jalen Hurts era so far is that he does get these late touchdown drives where he goes from having 79 yards to having 225 yards and a touchdown and whatever. It's like, great. Keep him forever.
Yeah. Well, they're also a team. I don't know if you saw that was discussed. I'm sorry, to trade for Deshaun Watson.
Well, I mean, if his choices are living in Miami, Carolina, or Philadelphia, I hope he at least has a travel agent that's on his team. I hope somebody's like, bro, have you been to Philadelphia?
You want me to play? I like how I've just been mixing calls in. You want me to play? Why don't I play this call? Because it's an NFL related call.
Okay.
Hey guys, Nebraska Dirtball. Stop me if you heard this one already, but which NFL division has the best group of helmets from design, color, history? Which 4 are the top? I think it's between the NFC East and the NFC North, just with Cowboys history, the Giants history. The Eagles, I think, is a great design helmet. If we're going with Washington before they came to Washington football team, then I think that's a landslide. I mean, I think that's a solid set of 4 there. But for right now, I think it's tough because the new Washington helmets don't have a lot of history to back them up, and I think it's kind of a lame number design. But the North, Packers, Bears, Vikings, I think that's a solid 4.
I think a couple other logos since they've changed have really hurt them. But as far as that group, those are my top two. What do you guys think? All right, see ya.
I really like that. I really like his selections after he posed the question, because I think those are two divisions where, I mean, the Lions helmet is like meh, but it's it's Silver Dome, blah blah blah. Like, of the 8 teams, obviously we're including Washington's pre-helmet and current. Like, I actually don't hate Washington's current helmet. I like the colors. I like the number, especially in place of, when they were doing it. But like the Redskins helmet, if you take out the connotation, whatever, it was a cool design.
Yeah.
And I think the otherwise, when you go around the league,
yeah, I'm looking.
There's always a team in every division that has a shit helmet. Like the NFC West is great. The Rams helmet sucks.
Yeah.
The current Rams helmet sucks. The NFC South, the Carolina helmet is terrible. So then you got the NFC East and the NFC North, I think, are both solid. And I love the Packers. I like the Vikings helmet. I like the Bears helmet. Detroit is the distant fourth in that. Giants, Philly, Dallas, all classic, all great. The two versions of Washington.
AFC West is really good.
AFC West, I like the old Broncos helmet way better than the new ones. But that would be my other one that I got in the mix, is the AFC West. The AFC North is pretty solid too. I don't love the Ravens unis and helmets, but like the AFC North is pretty solid. The AFC South is an unmitigated disaster.
Yeah, I agree.
And the AFC East, like the Jets, like
I like the Bills.
Yeah, I don't love it though. The best one by far is like Miami, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think Miami's the best.
I would say the AFC West and the AFC North in the AFC, and then the North and East in the NFC.
Okay, worst helmet in the NFL.
I think I'm gonna go Carolina. Like,
I'm gonna go Tennessee. I just think
Tennessee's bad too. How about the Texans? The Texans is bad.
Texans is bad too. Okay, best helmet in the NFL.
I mean, the Raiders is pretty great.
I love the Raiders.
The Raiders is pretty great. I know you hate the Bengals, but as far as what they are, like, I'm not a fan of the Bengals uniforms, but like for what they are, it's like, oh, it's kind of interesting. The Chargers current helmets are fucking unbelievable.
Well, the Chargers uniforms, them going old school,
awesome,
was a huge upgrade.
I think that yeah. And I'm biased. I mean, the classic, the Giants, it's not a recent change, but going back to the NY from the Giants that's just a classic. Great.
Yeah. I'm not as, I know a lot of people are probably saying Cowboys. I'm not as big on the Cowboys.
Yeah.
The star. Yeah, the AFC West, you're right. I think it's not, or I'm sorry, the AFC and NFC West. The NFC West is nice minus the Rams.
Yeah.
I like those. Well, the World Series is here. We have our teams.
Let's go. Stros and Bros.
Stros and Bros.
Big Astros fan. Fuck the Braves.
Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man.
Come on. I mean, you're a Rams Seahawks fan. You're not rooting for the one of the other two teams if they make it into the Super Bowl. You're not. You're not rooting for the Cardinals. You'd be rooting for the Astros versus the Cardinals.
No, if the Cardinals win the Super Bowl, I'd probably root for them because I like Kyler Murray.
No, sorry. If the St. Louis Cardinals were in this World Series against the Astros.
Oh yeah, I couldn't root for the Cardinals.
Yeah, so there we go. But listen, this is an interesting World Series too. I mean, the Dodgers undone by their own overthink. I mean, the handling of the pitching staff during that series was a debacle. The Braves were great, and Yeah, but I mean, it's amazing. Like of all the teams, where you get the Giants, the Dodgers, that we end up with the Braves in the World Series. Props to them. I hope they die like dogs. Good job getting this far. I hope I may be banging a drum. I might be banging a garbage can to tell the Astros when they're like, you're not even affiliated with the team. I'm like, so what? So I can't bring binoculars and a small garbage can to the games?
Do you think we'll be done in the future? Not done, but it's going to change, that we're not going to see as many starting pitchers as relievers, because it really didn't work out this postseason.
You like, I think that's such a great aspect of the postseason. I really think it's just more like you need to this idea that like we're just gonna have bullpen days is just so reckless. It's just so reckless. Oh, we're just gonna start Joe Kelly. What the fuck is happening? Like this is a terrible strategy. The analytics, I know there's the analytics of all the stuff. The analytics that prove that you're better off throwing out a bullpen guy who usually warms up for 15 minutes as opposed to a starter who has a whole process. Do whatever you can to get, like, to me, that's where analytics go awry.
Yeah.
Some things are the way they are for good reason. These guys, entire careers on how to prep for games. And they're like, no, actually, now you're a starter today. What?
But like, but you know what I'm saying? Like when we grew up, unless I'm wrong, I just don't remember starters really going into these playoff games.
I mean, you go back to, Randy Johnson, closing games.
Was he doing that with the Diamondbacks?
Yeah. Even the Astros, and, I think he came out of the pen for the Mariners. But that's definitely, it's definitely not something that was happening in the 90s and the 80s. But you have to do it. You can't do it when it's going to cost you them on another end. That's where it's reckless.
That's what I'm saying, though. The Astros are the favorites right now.
Let's go, Stros and Bros.
I just hope that they fill the seats in Atlanta. I feel like Atlanta has terrible fans in general for sports. Like, I would assume they would sell out a World Series.
2 Chainz is there.
You think 2 Chainz would be going to a baseball game?
I don't know.
You don't hear much from 2 Chainz anymore.
No, but he is a big Hawks fan, isn't he?
Yeah. Remember how obsessed I was with 2 Chainz for a while?
Yeah, I love 2 Chainz.
He's like the king of I'm great on the song, but
yeah, featuring 2 Chainz. I have a whole playlist. It's just called Feat 2 Chainz.
Yeah,
it's just 2 Chainz featuring on tracks
versus his own album. That'd be a fun list to make. Like people who were great features. Like Nate Dogg's got to be up there.
Snoop Dogg.
Oh, a little shade. Doggy Style was great.
And what's the other one that's great?
That's what I was about to say. Snoop peaked as far as solo albums. He peaked with his first album. But if you did top 5 all features, I'd have to put Nate Dogg up there.
Yeah.
Dude, he was so good on the hook. You'd put Snoop up there?
No, I'm just saying he's a guy who I think, that ends up being like what you go through, like, oh, my favorite Snoop Dogg songs are like, yeah, Doggy Style, and then like him featuring for the last 25 years.
I have said this. His fee used to be $100,000 cash. He'd feature any song.
It's just like the Dirty Sports podcast, $100 crisp $100 bill. If you want to show up to Andy Ruther's basement for a live taping of Dirty Sports.
Yeah, or if you want to come to my house for Halloween, $100. You can watch me give out candy to kids. You pull that clip.
Who are you rooting for in this World Series?
I don't really care.
But do you still hold any ill will toward are you like, well, fuck the Astros?
Yeah, I don't really like the Astros. Although I used to really dislike the Braves growing up too.
Yeah. Why would
they always won? So I didn't like them a lot.
Should be a good series though. I mean, especially because it's, in Houston to start. I'm excited. I have a prediction that it won't rate well. Does anybody care about the Astros Braves?
I was just gonna say.
I do, but I think it'll be a good series. But I wouldn't be surprised if they're like the lowest rated World Series and blah blah blah.
I mean, football is just such king. It really is. I mean, people don't care. Which, by the way, I do have to mention because we've talked a lot about it on the show. Congress is now putting on pressure for the NFL to release the emails.
Love it.
Not
Love
good.
it.
Not good for football. I'm sorry, for the NFL. So the House and whatever, I'm not the biggest guy on politicians in general, but the House Committee on Oversight and Reform is calling on Goodell to not only release the emails, just to provide the findings. They're not even releasing the findings of their quote unquote investigation.
This was the whole thing about the Kaepernick thing, right? Like they said, like the idea was that they paid him off because they didn't want people reading their shit.
Yeah. So basically, for anyone who hasn't seen this, they wrote to the NFL, the House Committee on Oversight and Reform, and now the NFL is going to have to respond. And basically, they've said, if you guys don't cooperate with us, we're going to bring you in via a Facebook type hearing under oath. So now the NFL is...
I'm all about that. Let's go.
Now, look, I would argue, because I'm already seeing people saying, is this really how we want to spend our taxpayer dollars? I would argue, I see that point, and I remember that's what happened when
also it's the 50 millionth thing on the list you should be upset that we're using our tax dollars on.
Sure, exactly. I would argue football is such an important part of the American society at this point, and such a staple part. Yeah, I know people would counter argue that, but I would argue I do want to know. I want to know what was going on. The NFL did this to themselves. I have zero sympathy towards the NFL in that regard. You don't conduct a massive investigation with 650,000 emails and then just, not only are you not releasing the emails, you're not releasing the findings of the investigation. Why even do an investigation if you're not going to release anything?
Yeah. Because then they can say they did. Oh, we investigated it. It's the guy checking the GIF, the meme of the guy that's like doesn't touch anybody as he pats him down.
Yeah.
You're good.
So I'm all for it too. I would enjoy seeing Roger Goodell having to speak.
Oh, it'd be so great.
Give me something. I want to see what was going on.
Yeah.
I do have to give an update as well, real quick, on Coach O.
Okay.
Now, we were moving quickly last episode. Dirtball tweets something out. I have no link in context. It was actually a story by The Athletic. I ended up reading it. I sent it to you. It's a deep dive. It came out October 17th. The title of the story on Coach O's fallout from LSU is "He Lost Track of Who He Was. Inside Ed Orgeron's Fall from Celebrated Son of Louisiana to LSU Coaching Pariah." And basically, it's a deep dive piece that Coach O, basically, after they won a title, for lack of better terms, he cared more about women than football, it seems. Like he was bringing women around. He got divorced 6 weeks after they won. All this stuff was happening. But we do have an update on the story, which I love. The editor's note. The story has been updated to reflect that the woman Ed Orgeron encountered at a gas station was not pregnant, as previously reported.
That's important.
So the woman that Coach O hit on in the workout attire was not pregnant.
On behalf of Coach O, who will not be making an appearance on the show today.
Oh, he won't?
I would just like to say that
I wasn't sure.
He made it clear that he was not hitting on her. He needed somebody to work out with.
Okay.
So I take the man at his word.
Yeah.
Now I'll have to read the story, and maybe we'll have to get him on a future episode to check in.
I like that. I mean, the story, Praino, the story is pretty wild because the story, like I said, it's basically saying after they won the title and like, you know, anonymous players are quoting that they're like, dude, he would be bringing different girls around now. Suddenly it's not all about practice. It's not about, he was such a detail oriented guy. And suddenly he's showing this girl at this facility. And it was
this is essentially what I argued earlier on in the show about Andy Reid. He was, you know, he was all football. Now he's like, he's coming in with a rack of ribs and he's like, yeah, check out our locker room. And they're like, he's like, this is where I could eat you tomorrow if you play your cards right.
Yeah. Well, I do think
Coach O was doing a lot of slides into the DMs, and Andy Reid was just doing a lot of sliders in his DMs. A lot of small burgers.
I see what you did there. Now, Coach O was also, I don't know if you remember that picture leaked of that woman in bed with Coach O. Like all this stuff was coming out.
Yeah.
Right after they won.
To the victor go the spoils.
Yeah. But also, you know, like, I'm not saying it's right and all that. I don't really care what somebody does with their personal life or their sex life, but you know, good for Coach O. He went through a divorce. The guy wants to go get laid. But my point is, not everybody's going to be Nick Saban. I mean,
eunuch who cut off his penis in a deal with the devil.
I watch, you know, I'm a big fan of NFL Network's A Football Life. And I watched the one on Nick Saban like a month or two ago. I mean, that's his life, which I'm sure surprises no one. And he was open about it. And I do like how they detail that in the episode is he talks about it, you know, missed a lot of his son and daughter's stuff in their life. And that's why it was so important. I love how he was like, it was so important to be at my daughter's wedding. Well, no shit, dude, it's your daughter's wedding. But his son and daughter both talk about that on the episode. And I did appreciate the transparency of not denying. I missed a lot of stuff, but I also see that. And I think, dude, you're the best college football coach of all time. But that's not the life I want. Like, you're just not involved with your family, because to get to that level, that's what you have to do. Right?
Yeah.
Whether it's him or some of the greatest athletes of all time.
Yeah.
I think it's just.
And it sucks because for athletes, you get an off season. For coaches, you really don't.
You don't. It's nonstop. But I like your new theory, Joe. I want to go back to that. I like this theory that he's a eunuch. And his penis chopped.
Well, I think that was part of the deal with the devil. You had to make a sacrifice. Tom Brady was there with a warm mug of beer, a warm mug of baby blood, being like, "I'm telling you, Nick, it's a good deal. I'd take it if I were you."
You remember after the 20?
I kept my dick, but now I gotta drink 96 ounces of fresh baby blood every day. So
you remember after, I don't even remember this. We laughed about this on the show after the 2016.
Like, I can't go to my daughter's wedding. He's like, could be worse. You could kiss your son on the mouth every day. I'm at my son's wedding as the bride. You may kiss your dad.
You remember it was reported after the 2016 election that Saban said he didn't know who won?
Yeah, it's wild.
Like, that's the type of life this guy has. The hotline is 310-359-8365. We did some calls throughout the show. We'll do some more next episode. But thank you for everyone who has called, and we'll get to some more next episode. Again, it's 310-359-8365. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Dirty Sports. And if you would like 2 Dirty Sports koozies, simply leave a podcast review with that Instagram or Twitter handle, and I will DM you for your address and send those koozies in the mail. Joe will be on the road a lot starting next week, so you can see him where?
Next weekend in Wilmington, North Carolina at Dead Crow Comedy Club, and then in Off the Hook Comedy Club in Naples, Florida, the following Tuesday, Wednesday, I believe, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday at the Key West Comedy Club in Key West, Florida, all with Eddie Ift. We just had a fantastic weekend down in San Diego. Bunch of dirtballs came out to the shows across the weekend, so thank you guys for coming out. To all you dirtballs who make it out to shows, say hi after the show. I took some pictures with some dirtballs after the show, and then some people just like ran out the door. So, make sure I know you're a dirtball. Sometimes guys will like wave on their way out. One kid came, didn't say anything, and then was like, awesome show, love the podcast. I was like, why didn't you say hello? So if you guys come to shows, hit me up in advance, even. Let me know you're going to be there. Wilmington, North Carolina, Naples, Florida, Key West, Florida, the next couple of weeks, all on joeprano.com. And all with Eddie Ift, who's also a fantastic comic. So come out and check out the shows.
Cool. All right, dirtballs, that is our show. Thank you for tuning in. You guys have a lovely week. And as always, stay dirty.